Well, welcome back to the Making Waves podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Nadeau. Joining me now, an Italian legend from Powell River, Joe Caldarone from Elite Edges Hockey. Joe, come stai? Thanks so much for doing this.
Bene, come va? Thanks for having me on this podcast. I didn't know I was going to be speaking Italian, so this is a good way to brush up my Italian language skills. So
there you go. Good wake-up call for you, starting with some Italian. Thanks so much again for hopping on here. A lot of exciting stuff going on with your hockey career and with your coaching career now. But let's jump back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up? When was the first time you hit the ice?
So I grew up in Powell River, BC. I was a bit of a late starter to hockey. I was like 8 years old when I first registered for minor hockey. But before that, I was in mini soccer because my dad, being Italian, of course, wanted me to be a soccer star. So I was playing mini soccer, and then one day my buddy Jeff Parsons, who I still coach with today, actually, he says to me, "Why don't you join hockey?" So I went to hockey at 8 years old, and honestly, I never looked back. I just fell in love with it. I remember going to public skating when I was 7 years old, like every Friday night, trying to learn how to skate. I can actually remember holding on to the boards and crying because my dad took me to public skating one day and I could barely stand up. So so 1988, basically, the year that Gretzky got traded to LA is when I started playing hockey. So
wow. What did your parents think of it? Because obviously you mentioned they were big in trying to get you into soccer.
Yeah, they just, being the good parents that they were, they just wanted me to do what I love and they, and let me pursue my dreams. So yeah, so from there, I played minor hockey here in Powell River up till first year midget was my last year. When I was 16, we were actually one goal short from winning the provincial championship down in Queens Park Arena in New West, and we lost to Kitimat that year. And so that was my minor hockey career ended then. And then from there, a buddy of mine helped me get recruited to a junior B team out of the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, the Columbia Valley Rockies. So I made my way out there as a 17-year-old in 1998. And instantly I made 20 new friends being on this team. And my hockey journey really started to begin. And I played 3 years there. We had some good teams, but we never did win any championships. And then from there, I had a brief stint in the Junior B League up north in the Northwest Junior Hockey League in Dawson Creek for the Dawson Creek Canucks. They played in a Northern Alberta Junior B League, and I was fortunate enough to play as an overager up there as a 21-year-old, and we actually won a championship our last year there. So that was pretty fun. And it doesn't matter what level you play, it's always hard to win, right? So from there, I was pretty upset because I thought, my competitive playing days were over. But here came the Powell River Regals, which happened to be a hometown senior men's hockey team. And from there, I joined them in like the 2003-2004 season. And I played 17 seasons with them. And two really big highlights was winning an Allen Cup in 2006 on home ice, Allen Cup National Championship, which was really cool. And then the following season, we traveled to Belarus to represent Canada in an international tournament, which is another career highlight. So. And then from there, I ended up continuing to play on, and Rick Hopper started coaching the team in 2009, 2010, and we actually won a provincial championship, the Koi Cup, with with Hop at the helm. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So Hop does have some experience then on the ice, so that's good to know.
Yeah, for sure. So Hop was great. He was a great coach. He was a good motivator. And he knew the game, and he definitely had some old school methods for sure. So, yeah.
I want to jump back here, Joe. You mentioned you had the opportunity to play in the KI. So it's sort of a similar league now to the Pacific Junior Hockey League where the Tsunami will be playing. How much has that game changed? How much has it evolved from when you started playing to where it is now?
Great question. So I remember before I went to Columbia Valley, I actually went to the Rocky Mountain Junior Hockey League training camp for the Cranbrook Colts. At the time, they were Junior A. Anyways, I remember at training camp there was literally like fight after fight after fight. And I didn't want to fight, but of course, this guy's trying to get me to go. I said, well, I guess if I want to make a name for myself or something, I got to drop the gloves. I can't, be considered scared or whatever. So I dropped the gloves, and I'm not much of a fighter, but I just had to do it. So number one, the game's changed so much. There's way less fighting, if any at all. Number two, the speed of the game Like it's so much quicker. The skill level is unbelievable. The way training has evolved, you could really see it at every level. You could see it from minor hockey right through the junior ranks, college and pros. And also another big change, as you know, like they have to wear full face shields now as well, right? Which wasn't the case back then. I remember transitioning from the full cage to the half shield, and I really thought it was a cool thing, right? And but of course, many stitches, and luckily I still have all my chiclets after all those years. So yeah, so those are the biggest changes. Definitely the physical aspect, the fighting, and the speed and skill of the game. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. Great story there. And I'm sure when you did have to fight, you took out and channeled your inner Rocky Balboa, just like any good Italian, eh?
Yeah, well, no, I discovered I wasn't very good at fighting, but I was good getting in on the forecheck and finishing my check and making the defenseman pay in the corner. So that was
There
my
you
game.
go.
So
There you
it's
go.
funny now that I'm a skills coach, because I was not very skilled. I can tell you that.
Well, you also brought up the fact that you are an Allen Cup winner, so congratulations on doing that. Are you still close with a lot of that team, a lot of those players?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's one of those players on that team that helped me out with an opportunity to get into the personal fitness industry. So what happened was in 2010 or 2011, I decided I needed to make a change in what I was doing, and I contacted one of my former teammates from that team who ran a fitness business downtown, and they branched off and they trained hockey players, and they were called Factory Hockey Player Development. So what happened was I went down there and they took me under their wing, and I started learning from them, and I started a fitness business here in town, and working with not only hockey players, but also general population clients that I still train to this day. Actually, it's been 13 years now. So yeah.
Awesome. What made you want to move away from playing to become a coach?
Well, good question. So I started having kids when I was about 30 years old. So in 2014, my oldest son, I have two kids. I have my son Gabriel and my daughter Grace. So Gabriel started what they call pre-novice back then, or pups. So they were 4 and 5 years old. So that's how I started getting into coaching. And I got a funny story here. My very first day, I'll never forget it. I'm on the ice, and there was a gate where the players would enter through and go onto the ice, right in the corner. And it was literally a dog pile of kids because nobody could stand up. I remember looking at my assistant coach that was helping me out, another one of the dads, and I said to him, "What do we do now?" Like, I literally started right from the ground up. Even though I had played hockey my entire life, I had never coached before. So I was learning how to coach by working with 4, 5, 6 year olds. And that was back in 2014. So almost 10, pretty much 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. And I haven't looked back since. That's how I got into coaching. I've developed a real passion for it because as a player, I love the game, and I was really passionate, and I was a hard worker. So now I carry that on with my coaching. Yeah.
I gotta ask you this, Joe, having a daughter in hockey like yourself and seeing how far the women's game has evolved and changed, is it inspiring for you and to see, that evolution?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like seeing that PWHL get off the ground in the last year was pretty neat to see. They're on TV and they're professionals and they're gaining a lot of popularity. And Grace definitely was watching it, and she's like, yeah, like it kind of gives her like extra motivation to get better because, possibly one day she could reach those levels too. Right. So,
No,
yeah.
certainly very, very exciting. And Joe, there's a Hockey Canada jersey behind
Yeah.
you. So let's talk about Hockey Canada here. And I heard that you have your Hockey Canada certification.
Yeah. So how I got into that was, so as I was climbing the ranks of coaching through the minor hockey ranks there, Hopper was a director of operations for Palaver Minor Hockey. So he saw like the path that I was taking, and he recommended that I should try to apply for the Hockey Canada National Skills Coach Program just to take my coaching to the next level, right? So in 2019, I was successful in my application. So I went to Calgary for a week-long seminar, and I got to rub elbows with the best coaches, like from coast to coast, right from the West Coast here all the way to New Brunswick. So it was pretty cool. Like a lot of former NHLers and pros, and it was just a great networking experience, that week-long event. And then from there, we had a bunch of post tasks we had to do, like practice plans and things like that, and evaluations. And it was quite the process. But in 2021, I was able to finally get my certification completed. So I've been a Hockey Canada skills coach since 2021. And the thing is, I'm not going to stop there. I'm always trying to get better. So I'm always educating myself, always looking for the next, best teaching methods. So, yeah.
Awesome. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to start coaching hockey?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, I know everyone wants to have the glamorous jobs of coaching junior players and college players and pro players, but I really feel like anything in life, the best way to learn is start from the bottom. Like literally start like right from youth hockey, and like sure, it's one thing to play at a high level, like, but coaching is a whole nother animal. So just learn how to like the ins and outs and on how to like not only teach hockey skills but teach life skills to the young kids. Like the younger they learn like about respect and respecting your teammates and coaches, being a good teammate, having a positive attitude, learning how to have a good work ethic, that will go a long way. So I'm really excited to see like what the future holds for all these young kids that I've been coaching here in the Powell River area for the last 10 years or so.
Well, Joe, there's something super exciting that you're doing right now, downhill skating. What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so back in 2018 or so, I became a member of Train 2.0, which is a hockey development company out of Lower Mainland, and it's run by a former Powell River King, Jason E. And he tells a story quite well. And what happened was when he was younger, he listened to his coaches and he worked extremely hard, especially off the ice, to try to advance. And when his playing career ended, he started studying how NHL players actually move, and he came to a realization like what was taught and how elite NHL players move is totally different. So he designed a system that basically it's based on speed through relaxation and moving around the ice with less effort through having good angles with like your joints, like your ankles, knees, and hips. And in turn, what happens is a player, because it takes less brain power to move around the ice, they can read and react and make plays. So it's a pretty cool system. So how it's taught is like it's a lot of video analysis. So like for example, I'll have a skill session later today, and I'll do some clips of players moving around the ice. And then what I do is I go home and then I study these clips and I compare them to NHL movement. Like, so I use this technology called Coach Now app, and that shows the athletes like side-by-side comparisons on how NHLers move. So it's a really good teaching tool, and it's really definitely video analysis, definitely the new wave of training, and that's how training is going to be like in the future years. And I'm pretty excited to be a part of that with the downhill skating system. So if anyone hasn't looked into it before, I definitely recommend it. Train 2.0 downhill skating, and it's really going to start taking off worldwide. So,
and if people ever need any help from you or have any coaching questions or want you to coach them, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so so my brand name now is Elite Edges Hockey. So I have a Facebook page, Instagram. I'm still working on a website. But yeah, if you want to ever get a hold of me, that's how you do it. And yeah, I'm willing to coach anybody. If you have a passion to get better, it doesn't matter if you're 6 years old or even an adult, like beer league player. I don't care where you play or what level you play. If you're passionate about getting better, I can help you.
It's really impressive to see how well you've been able to do with this. And also there's so many coaches out there in the hockey world. They all sort of have different methods, but they're all having that same goal, which is trying to advance a player and trying to advance their career. Do you have any stories of players that you've helped coach that are maybe moving on and playing at a higher level?
Yeah, over the years, I've coached a few players that have moved on to junior B, like the VIJHL. There's one player in particular from Powell River that actually advanced to the Western Hockey League, the Seattle Thunderbirds. His name's Tyler Carpendale. He was a good client of mine, and but I worked with him mostly off the ice on his strength and conditioning. He was actually able to, he got drafted by the Thunderbirds in 2015, I believe. And he was playing in the VIJHL for the Peninsula Panthers, the West Shore Wolves, pardon me. Anyways, when his season was ended, he was actually called up to Seattle for their playoff run, and they actually went all the way to the Memorial Cup, and he was able to be like a black ace, so to speak, and just practicing with the team and hanging out with that team. And two notable names on that team were Ethan Bear and Matt Barzell was a star in that team. So that's kind of cool, right? So
No, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Tsunami podcast. We haven't really talked much about the Tsunami yet. So talk to me about what you're doing with the team right now.
Yeah. So once Hopper left Paul River, as you guys know, his mission was to bring junior hockey to the Lower Sunshine Coast. And 2 years later, here we are. And his idea was not only to have a junior team down there, but to develop some spring teams so that it can be like a feeder system for future Tsunami players in the PJHL, right? So after lots of conversations and lots of ideas, and it's kind of finally come to fruition. So this past weekend, I traveled down to Gibson's with my daughter, and we were able to take part in the very first Tsunami spring hockey opening weekend. So right away, I got to meet a couple of great coaches. Gilbert Brule, Braden Cross, Cayman Froud, and his assistants there. I'm still getting to know everybody, obviously, and it was great to see, like, after the first day, how the Powell River kids and the Lower Sunshine Coast kids started to gel and get to know each other. And I think it's gonna be a really good fit with all us coaches and players. So we're really excited about the spring season. So.
Well, you had the chance to attend the Canucks alumni game in December.
They were extremely excited about about having junior hockey in the Lower Sunshine Coast. And it showed because they filled that barn and they were really cool. Like, they were making lots of noise, and they had the cheerleader guy there. I can't remember his name, but
Crazy P.
That's right. He got the crowd going. So I knew definitely that there was definitely a market for junior hockey down there. After being down there that weekend, it was a really fun weekend. And I want to thank Brad Wingfield and his family for having me and my buddy come over and stay with them. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, you've had the chance to play on a few different junior teams. I'm curious to know what makes a good junior team. Is it the stadium, the crowd, the coaching staff? I'm sure it's a bit of everything, right?
Good question. Yeah, it definitely is a bit of everything. But number one, a good junior team starts from the top, like any team. Like, it starts from the general manager or hockey operations president, general manager, head coach. They are the leaders of an organization, right? So from there, you got obviously the players. The players are the team. You have to have a good leadership group, captains and assistants, and those guys basically are the guys that they talk to the players and they talk to the coach. They're almost like that bridge where they can communicate with guys, with their coaches. So it's important to have a good leadership group. And then, of course, with the players, it's really important that everyone gets along and everyone pulls for each other, and they all have this common goal. We can't have anybody there for the wrong reasons. It should be about the team first and not individual accolades and all that kind of stuff. So, and also, from an on-ice perspective, two major things at any level, is you have to have good goaltending, and your special teams has to be good, because games are won or lost on the power play and penalty kill. So, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Especially in today's game where speed is a big factor and everybody's constantly competing back and forth. The game just seems to get a lot faster. So you got to certainly capitalize on the opportunities that you're given. Joe, being an Italian, was there anyone that you could look up to growing up? Because obviously there haven't been a lot of Italian players in the NHL. So who's somebody that you kind of looked up to as a role model?
It's funny you say that, because as soon as you said Italian players in the NHL, one guy in particular that stands out for me for two reasons. Number one is hockey hair, and number two, his style of play. You guys remember Mike Ricci? He was drafted in the early 90s, played for Quebec, I believe, and Colorado, and he was Stanley Cup champion. So I remember watching Mike Ricci play, and like I say, seeing his long hair, hockey hair, and his missing teeth, and his just grueling style of play. That's probably what inspired me as a young hockey player. So
there you go. We're saving the best for last here, Joe. I told you this was coming up. You got to give me a story on Rick Hopper. There's got to be something available.
Well, he's been a great mentor for me, first as a player and now as an aspiring coach. He's always had good advice for me a lot over the years. But one thing I'll always remember about Hop is that he's always was and always will be an old school coach. His coaching style is, you get on the ice, you have no gloves on, and when you want the guys to get moving, you start slamming your stick on the ice let's go, let's go. So nothing wrong with that. He's a very good motivational coach, but he's definitely old school. So that's why he's surrounding himself now with all these other coaches and us new school guys. So yeah, thanks, Hop.
There you go. You can certainly give him a hand with coaching now, I'm sure. So that's awesome.
He's not allowed to skate anymore, that's for sure. I know his days of being on the ice are over. I know he bought a brand new pair of skates about 4 or 5 years ago when he was instrumental actually in getting the hockey academy going in Powell River. Something I forgot to mention is that 4 or 5 years ago, minor hockey, when he was at the helm, they developed a partnership with school district. So it's a hockey academy skills training twice a week for anyone from grade 8 to 12. And it's still going on to this day. And thanks to Hop and the way we built it up, we actually had a record number of participants this past season. So we look to keep that going. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's when Hop bought the new pair of skates and said, "These are my last pair ever." And now he's for sure they are, because he'll never be on the ice again. So there you go.
Joe, it's unfortunate that we're out of time, but it was a great episode with you. Thanks so much for joining me. We got to have some more Rick Hopper stories in the next episode, next time we get you on the air. But grazie tanto. I greatly appreciate it.
Prego. And thanks for having me on. That was a lot of fun. I've listened to a lot of podcasts over the years, but this is my first time being on one, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks.
There you go. That's Joe Caldarone from Powell River. Joe, thank you very much. We'll talk again soon.
You bet. I look forward to seeing everyone down at Lower Sunshine Coast.
Grazie. Ciao.
Okay, ciao.